breeze took the clouds all away. It swept the sky like a broom and got ready for a very special day. This is a very special time. Show me a hill I can climb. Give me a mountain to move, and I'll prove that it's a very special day. I woke up early this morning with gloom on my head. Had a big feeling to climb back in bed. Then I looked in the mirror and somebody said, wake up, wake up. It's time for you to lose the blues, and this is a very special treat. Tell it to everyone you meet that life is all for living and love is all for giving. So this is a very special day. Tell it to everyone along the way that this is a very special day. Up early this morning with gloom on my head. Had a big feeling to climb back in bed. Then I looked in the mirror and somebody said, wake up, wake up. It's time for you to lose the blues, and this is a very special treat. Tell it to everyone you meet that life is all for living and love is all for giving. So this is a very special day. Tell it to everyone along the way that this is a very special day.
Good morning. We're live here on Coffee Club, and we've got a full house. We've got Tracy from Meadowview and Salem Crossing with us as our co-hosts, and we've also got special guests David and Jamie Bauer.
Hey,
and,
good morning.
This is a paid political show this morning, and David is running for County Commissioner, District 2, and he'll be here for the next few weeks, and he'll tell us all about what commissioners do and tell us more about him. So good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Well, I don't know about that. Anyway, thank you for being here. And today is the 3rd day of March, and we've got some warmer weather coming, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
Rain, but so that'll hopefully maybe bring the mushrooms up.
Yeah, hey, that's right. That'll be coming up pretty soon, won't they?
And it'll start.
I never did do very well finding those.
I didn't either.
I never could. I just didn't have the vision, I guess.
The people behind me found more mushrooms than I did because I was either stepping on them or walking right by them.
My dad, it seemed like he could see 1.5 miles away, but I like to eat them though. I'm there, when they're being cooked.
That and fish.
That's right.
Call me up. There was a place. There's a restaurant just south of here, and they have one day a week they have bluegill. That's good eating.
Yeah.
Fresh bluegill's good eating. But anyway, let's get into it. This morning we've got David Bauer again and Jamie, and he's running for county commissioner. And tell us about your past, your political past, David. You've had 3 big positions here in the county, and you've served our county for many years. Tell us what you've been.
Well, it's an honor, and I thank you for saying big positions, but they're really not.
Well, sure they are.
It's servants. It's serving the people.
Yeah.
Servant leadership, and I was taught, as you're an alumni of Bennett's Clothing and Shoes, that it's service above self.
Yep.
Bob Holler used to preach that to us.
That's exactly
literally, and of course Jim Bennett was always active in the community as well. So they all expected us as the boys and girls or men of Bennett's to take part in our community. And so at a young age, they would throw me into the Salem JCs or all these different clubs and organizations, and it's just something that seemed like it came natural to care about your community. And I got involved a little bit in politics back when I was very young. about wanted to make our lives better, even in some small way. So I had an opportunity, was I guess urged to run for county council as a pretty young man. I don't know if I was even 30 yet. I can't remember. That's been a while back. But I did run a county at large, which was an at-large member, which you have district members, but
Sure.
at large was the whole county. So that was a pretty big task for a young guy to get out in the county, and probably back then not as well known maybe because I hadn't done that much other than that Bennett's, and I had a pretty good work history and got to know a lot of people through Bennett's, and it just worked out. Luckily, I had my wife of 50 years with me, beside me all the time campaigning, and I just enjoyed it. It really was a way to meet people and become friends and hear what their concerns are and what they're worried about and what they have to deal with on a daily basis. And I think that's why we should, if we're not, becoming active in how we run our community and how we take part.
Sure.
And again, servant leadership means a lot to me, as we were taught back in those days.
Yeah.
You know, I just went to the men's Lenten breakfast. Of course, it's the women's Lenten breakfast now, which I was very glad to see. But you know, a lot of good things come from meetings and getting to know people.
Sure.
And at the very least is you understand what's important to you.
Right.
So as an elected official, I guess, I don't know if I want to say official, as an elected person in the community that's supposed to represent you, I should listen and try to carry out what's important to you. And that's all we've tried to do. And I'll never forget a young guy. It was a who's who of county council members.
Oh.
I'm gonna the names back then I served with. He was the president of the council. Mervyn Fisher, former state rep.
Yep.
Dawsey Souter, Jim Nice, outstanding individual. Roger Sweeney, he was the most fair guy in the world. And John Fultz, Mignon Marshall, just I could go on and on with a lot of the members that I served with. And I learned so much. And in fact, that first year, I kept quiet by design. I wanted to learn.
Sure.
It was really almost intimidating that I sat there with these people who've been there, done that, and worked hard and made a successful life for themselves. Now that's important too, and I want to touch about that. There's a difference between experience and accomplishments. You know, we can get a job, but are we really good at it? I can get a job, but will I stand out as one of those employees?
Sure.
If I'm elected, it's a big responsibility. You've got that hand on that Bible, and you're swearing an oath, basically to God and the people you're representing. And I don't think we take that serious enough. And that's what we've got to start doing. But I like to touch on experience versus accomplishments. I had that experience early on with the county council. Learned from a great many men and women, the office holders back then. Eugene Trueblood, and I'll touch about how I got involved in my life with Eugene Trueblood and his lovely wife, and how nice a family they were. They ran as a assessor, the county assessor, as a husband and wife team. And I learned a lot from him as well, because I held that office as well. Township assessor. They don't have those anymore, but back then it was township assessor. We're responsible for all the information we gather on new property being built in the community. And I would go out. Jamie would go with me often, and we would take the measurements and take all the particulars of that particular property, turn those in to Eugene, and then that's how they put those in the tax base. Okay. So I have a really good working knowledge of the tax base, how that works, how you can increase the tax base and turn that into tax dollars that'll help our community. Because I don't like taxes. I can't imagine anybody saying they like them. They're a necessary evil, right? We got to have them. And what concerns me is the price of bituminous, which a lot of the candidates running for this office don't even know what bituminous is. It's basically asphalt. Yeah. You know, all these prices, the gas, the diesel, labor, we got to pay our people a good wage. All those things are going to go up. They're not going to stay static.
Would you like to go back to what a mile of blacktop cost back when you were on?
Yeah, or gas or diesel.
Yeah.
All those things, and even labor. But you know, we have to pay. We have to do those things. We have to pay the budget. We have to or work the budget to where it meets those requirements. But how are you going to do it? Well, I don't want to raise taxes. Do you, Tracy? Do you want to raise? No, we don't. But there's ways we can really work to the satisfaction of the people to keep from doing that. Now, can we accomplish all that? I don't know. But I think we can help. And there's a couple of ways to do that in my mind that I think we did a pretty good job at the city. And I want to make sure that people realize that it was a team effort. The 8 years that I spent at the city, it was a team effort. I had some of the best people in the world working there.
Sure.
And I'll never forget one of the first meetings I held. I had all the department heads in. Here I am, just elected mayor, had some experience in business, you know, again, working for my community. The JCs, the Grove Partnership, Chamber of Commerce, I was directed to represent the merchants for many years on the Chamber of Commerce and was always active. I helped Jim Bennett with the Fair Board, you remember that?
Yeah.
I was just taught to do those things. But here I am, and here I'm a new elected mayor, and oftentimes you see this. And I don't want to be this person, but oftentimes you'll be elected in office and you think you're the boss. Well, I'm in a room with people who held their positions for 20 and 30 years. I mean, who am I to tell them how they're going to start doing it? So I wanted to learn from them.
Yeah.
And that's what I set out to do from day one. I would meet with my department heads often. And I would ask leading questions. Maybe they didn't realize, and just like you and I would go out and we'd talk about fishing.
Yeah.
Well, the next thing I might say is, how do you do so well when you write, Greg? You know, I would try to get some questions in there to learn from them. But one of the first things I said, and I think most of our guys and girls that I worked with at the city can tell you this, I said, I get it. I'm going to be here a short time compared to what you guys are. I said, there's some people in this room that's been here 30,
Sure.
40 years. And I know you're going to be here after I'm gone. And I'm going to have some ideas, some things that I think we should do or could do or may do to help this community. And I said, that's my priority here, is to help people. Yeah. And I just relied so much on those good people. And I could name names. I could throw out a half a dozen names right now, but then I'd forget 2 or 3. And then I'd be embarrassed, so I don't want to do that. But it definitely is a team sport, Greg.
Yeah.
And for anybody to walk into a newly elected position and act like they know all the answers and I'm the king, no way. And you don't want that kind of person.
No.
You
But
don't.
you've got experience. You've been on the county council. You've been mayor. You were township assessor, and you did a lot of good things.
Well, I like to think
those...
our team did, and I do think, and I appreciate you saying that, because I do think there's a difference between experience and accomplishments. It's just like I said earlier. You know, I can go out and get a job, and I can do my job every day and keep my head down. But what did I do to really help or make a difference? And I like to look back on our accomplishments. You know, again, just across the street, we've got the Walmart facility. Look how that increased our tax base for the city of Salem.
Yeah.
That's a lot of tax dollars there, guys. Yeah. That helped us pay the bills. Very simply. I read something that you wrote that if you can't explain it, like if a high school senior or a high school student can't understand it, you need to make it simpler. And that's it. If we can increase the tax base,
sure,
that's more money for the city to help pay the bills.
Yeah.
And as prices go up, if that's going to give us additional funding, then we can meet the demands of rising prices or better wages for our employees. And that's what I told our people. Look, if you help me, I'll help you, because that's going to put more money into coffers.
Sure.
Enables all of us to have a better life.
Sure.
Another thing I'm proud of too, that maybe it's not a big deal to some, but I didn't take a raise in 8 years. That's not why I ran.
Sure.
That's not why I wanted to help my community. 8 years. Refused it, didn't take it, because when my first year we got hit with a circuit breaker, which continues to go on, and that's where a lot of the tax dollars are taken away from the cities and towns, municipalities back then. And they wanted us but to help stand on our feet, to look at ways to save money.
Sure.
So if you own a business, like my wife and I owned a business for many years, that there's a couple of different ways you can increase prices, but that's detrimental in a lot of ways too. If my Levi's were higher than down Clarksville, you're not going to buy me your Levi's off of me.
No.
So we have to look at ways to make it more efficient. That's the first thing. And really, what can you do in a town or a city or a business to make it more efficient? That's the first thing a business owner should do. Am I really running it efficiently?
Yeah.
And I had triggers that that would get me in that frame of mind. Every morning when I open the front door, put that key in, I ask myself a question, and I did this at the city as well. What can I do today? Not tomorrow, not next week, but today, to improve this business. and that carried over into the offices that I held.
Sure.
And I don't care how small it was. I don't care if it was paint the front door. I don't care if it was wash the window. I mean, well, you do that anyway. But what can I do to make this business better? And that's what we did every day. And I'd like to think that effort paid off. And it's the same way with government. What can we do to make it more efficient? Because if we make government more efficient, it's less tax dollars. It'd be less draw on our community to pay the taxes. So I'm not in favor of any new taxes, and I won't be. But we're going to take a good look at the efficiency.
Sure.
To make sure we're doing things right.
There's another challenge that the commissioners.
I got talking too much, Tracy. You may want to stick a rag in my mouth there. But go ahead, Greg. I'm sorry.
Let me see if we can. No.
I'm learning a lot.
Well, that's a perfect teaching tool here, because a lot of people don't know what county commissioners do, or what county government as opposed to city government, opposed to state. And it starts federal and goes to state, and you guys get handed a lot of times at the city and county level things that you have to, like the circuit breaker. All of a sudden now here we're losing tax dollars.
$800,000 my first year of office, Tracy. I walked in, and we have a budget of just right about $5 million.
That just made me nauseous.
Okay, $5 million budget, City of Salem back then, and the state of Indiana says, well, we're tightening our purse strings, which I'm glad they did. I'm okay with that. It was a challenge, but you're going to have $800,000 less in tax revenue. And I'm proud of the fact that with that team, and they didn't get raises either. I still struggle with that today, that I wish there would have been some way we could have really rewarded our people better for their effort. But they rose to the challenge, and we had to make up $800,000. Well, I had to send some people home. We were, I didn't just do it happenstance or knee-jerk reaction. I looked at other communities with the same tax base. I want to keep harping on tax base because that sets you up for everything that you do.
Sure.
And we go in and even some of my competitors talking about all these things they're going to do and all the projects and all this wild stuff. Well, if you ain't got the money, brother, you ain't going to do it. So why are you trying to kid people and thinking that you're a magician when you're not?
Yeah.
And let's get reasonable about all this. Yeah. You gotta live within your means.
Sure.
That's another thing I was taught by Bob Holler.
Yep.
Remember that, the Quaker?
Yep.
Stay humble, live in your means.
Yep.
We've got to be able to do that as a city as well. More so probably in a city than any other thing.
Sure.
But those people didn't get a raise. They met the challenge along with me, and probably at times wanted to kick me, if nobody was looking. But they were just great. And we met the challenge. We did have to lay some people off, unfortunately, send some people home. But what I'm proud of, so proud of, is that we didn't lose any service. I did a block walk back then. I would get out every month, and I would go a different area of the community, of the town, and I would take the police chief with me, the road superintendent, highway garage. I'd take oftentimes different leaders with me, and we'd knock on the door. And again, I would say, well, is there anything we need to be doing different to make your life better? Are you okay with how's everything looking? Tell me, blow my hair back. I want to hear what you're concerned about. And I was so proud that everybody seemed pretty happy at the time. We had challenges like any other community, infrastructure and the water bills and water breaks and freezing and all those things take place. But I'm really proud of the team that we had there. And I often think about those good times because we would meet a lot in the office, and I really wanted them around me a lot, so we could get some energy going. And it's just a great group. I can't say enough good things about the people I've always worked with.
Is there a way to translate that, getting out of the office as a commissioner? Of course, I don't think commissioners really have. I guess that maybe they do have kind of some office space now up in the courthouse, but how would you translate that into being more of a full-time commissioner?
I want to be full-time, and I don't see how this job can be. To sit here and say, well, I'm going to do this, but yet have a job, a full-time job. Well, I respect that you have to have more money. You can't raise a family on a commissioner pay. I get it, but I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair that you can't donate all your time and be there and put all your time into a really, really important job that you're going to influence the future of our county. The things you do today is going to affect the things that are done tomorrow and a year from now, or maybe even 10 years from now.
Sure.
Just like the revenue we've got in from the city worked pretty hard. We had a good team. We put together some local investors. We've got a new hotel. We brought back the tumbleweed, which, you know, they wanted to come back, but the lot wasn't big enough that they wanted to expand, and with some local investments, we got tumbleweed back, and then of course next door the Walmart facility, and again, it creates jobs and opportunity, and that's what we've got to be about. I don't think I've heard any of my competitors or anyone for that matter, and I want to go on record right now that I'm going to be the first. We're not talking about economic development enough. New jobs, opportunities, investment in our county will grow that tax base. And then I wonder if all my competitors know the taxes that are taken in by just employment. You've got CADGET. Does anybody know what CADGET stands for? County Adjusted Gross Income Tax.
Yeah.
When we all go to work, we pay a little county tax. And rightly so, we should. What about EDIT? That's an acronym. Does anybody know what EDIT stands for? Economic Development Income Tax. That's another tax that you pay. And the county can use those things. So the more jobs, the more tax revenue. Build your tax base. And if you can be all things to all people, if your tax base is large enough, which it probably will never be, but if we can at least keep up with inflation and the demands of our community, then we're way ahead of the game. And we're losing track. We're arguing and fighting and fussing about things that are important, possibly, but let's move on. Let's do things for our community. Let's if we got a problem and you think something's going on, well, let's get it out in the open, investigate it, and prove it right or wrong. And then let's move on down the road. Let's start doing what we need to do, get our butts in the chairs, making decisions, and go to work and help this community out. Because it's not going to get any better crying and whining and fighting and fussing.
No.
And I'm sick of it, and I want to change that. Somebody asked me, what are you going to do? What's the first thing you're going to do? Well, I'm going to get along. I'm going to get along with everybody. I mean, I may have to bite my lip or my tongue, but that's life, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, Greg, we worked at Bennett's together for a while. I mean, I loved all my customers for the most part, but there's a few of them I bit my tongue a time or two, didn't you?
You knew. Yeah.
Well, that's life, right?
There was it was probably smart when that building was built that there was such a distance between the front door and the cash register and the back door and the stairs.
But that's life, you know, and
sometimes the back area would become very interesting.
Yeah, it would. I spent 31 years there, and when I started there when I was 16, almost 17, and spent 31 years there. And when I got out, that's all really that and some of the public jobs I held, you know, county council and again township assessor, and the things that I really learned from. I drove a school bus too for 20 years. That was quite an experience.
Oh, I bet. Sure.
But I loved it. I loved every minute of it. But you learn from those things that you got to just move on. That you're going to have your hiccups. But what I realized then is 99% of all the things we gripe about and fight about and fuss about can be fixed.
Yeah, sure.
All we got to do is sit down and say, okay, what do you think's going on here? All right, well, what do we need to do to fix it? Because I've got a family member or two. I'm not looking at my wife. I don't mean to pull her out. But you will oftentimes say something needs to be done, but you never have a solution for it. And I'll say, okay, darling, what do you want me to do to fix it? Well, I don't know. Well, I like people that complain. I mean, that's how you learn, right? Again, sure. I used to go around. We used to call our customers on Monday morning. We had the checks back then. You had more checks than debit cards. We had phone numbers on the checks, and Jamie would do a great job. She'd go back in the office. She'd call these customers. And we'd say, hey, thank you. We appreciate what you're doing, shopping with us. Is there anything we can do to make your experience better? Because I was taught if you had one complaint, you had 20 more that thought the same thing but didn't say anything. But tell me how you want to fix this. And okay, so you got a problem, and there's generally one or two ways you can fix it. Well, let's do it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, we'll try the second thing. Why are we sitting here, I mean, calling each other names and mad all the time?
Yeah.
Well, let's get to the bottom of this get it done, and move on.
Yeah.
Because we're never going to be successful unless we do.
Yeah. That's true.
If I'd have been mad every day at Bennett's because maybe some customer did something, or our worker, or I made my wife mad, or whatever, if we didn't put that behind us and move on,
Just be stuck in the same place.
you will,
Yeah.
and we got to quit doing that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I promise to do that. I pledge to do that, and I guarantee you I will do that.
Now, I want to tell everybody that this really is David Bauer here this morning. It's not a computer-generated or artificial intelligence.
robots here.
No robots here. And it's so easy nowadays to use different programs to generate what you have to say, but you've said all this right out of your heart this morning. I mean, you're not reading off a script.
That's very true. And also, what I'm a little concerned about, and I see this, you see it on the news periodically, and I think it's even coming into play with candidates for public office. I write everything. It's not perfect. My grammar oftentimes will not be correct. I may put a period in the wrong place or a comma, but I'm writing those.
Sure.
I'm not using Chat GTP.
GPT.
GPT. See, there you go.
There's several of them.
Now, I understand, and I think we need to think about this. I can see where AI can be beneficial, but I can see where it's going to mislead people. And I'm reading some of the material for elections, and it's been run through that program. Now, I had a niece, and I'll tell you firsthand, I had a niece. I wrote something, and I sent it to her husband because he's a friend of mine, and I wanted to see when I write something, I always send it out to half a dozen people to get their, if it emits the response that I'm trying to get when I write something.
Sure.
Okay? I want a response. When I put an ad in the paper, like I used to at Bennett's, I want a response, right? I want people to come in and buy whatever I've got. So when I'm writing an ad for a political office, I want people to know what I'm concerned about and how I can change that. So that's what I do. But I do it by myself.
Sure.
And I do have, once in a while I'll have somebody look at it and they'll say, oh, you spelled this wrong. Okay? But that's not a program.
Writing
and so my niece,
for you, yeah.
so my niece took this that I wrote in and she ran it through this Chat GTP. And she sent it back. She goes, what do you think about this? Oh, it was amazing. It made me sound like a Harvard professor. But I'm not a Harvard professor, okay? And I thought, wow. And so, people send me things of other candidates. Not necessarily just for this office, but I read things that other candidates state. And we're using AI. And that's not the person that you're voting for. That's a computer program that wrote that. I guess I could go home, Greg, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I could punch in, I want to have eggs and bacon and oatmeal and orange juice when I leave the radio show today and go to a restaurant, and it'll send that back in a beautiful paragraph that makes me sound like, again, a Harvard professor. But that's not who you're voting for.
No.
And you need to know who you're voting for, right?
Yeah. Because when you get that person, it's not going to be Chat GPT.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when we still in Washington County, the way I hear it, we say either instead of either. Is that right?
Yes.
You guys agree with that? I don't hear too many people say either way. It's either way. Okay? I'm an either way kind of guy.
I know.
I love that.
And when it comes to about writing these things out, I'm not gonna say either and try to be somebody I'm not. So why do we try to be pretentious?
Right. Yeah.
And act like we're the trying to make us smarter than what we are. I mean, I think we're all smart. We all have intelligence. We wouldn't be here. But I'm just an old country boy, and I'm gonna stick with either instead of either.
I think Indiana and Washington. We always got Washington. We always got busted for that in English class.
Yeah.
It's not Washington. It's Washington.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But anyway, we have a dialect that's very.
Yeah.
People can't pick us out.
Right.
I think we have a little bit of.
Well, oftentimes I get off on the southern twang, I guess, and I probably come across on the radio this morning because we have people that we know down south and we visit with, and they'll say, "Man, you sound like you're from Tennessee."
Yeah. I went to Pennsylvania one time. It's been years ago. I was a young girl. just sitting down at a restaurant having pizza, I think, and just talking to the waitress, just general conversation, and she says, "Where are you from?" I said, "Southern Indiana." She goes, "Well, you sound like you're from Alabama."
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't hide it.
But really, accomplishment versus the experience is something that people really should take a look at. Don't vote, and I even put this in one of my handwritten, come out of my brain, not AI. Don't vote for somebody that's just held a position or has never done anything with it. I want people to say, when I worked for the city or I worked with the county or worked along with Eugene Trueblood, yeah, he did a nice job and he did this or he did that. And that's what we should be doing, in my opinion. I come across pretty adamant and pretty strong in that regard, but we should expect more. Get your vote's worth.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever thought about that? You
Right.
get your money's worth, right? When you go to the grocery store, don't you look and I know my wife does. She'll look at different items, see which one's maybe the best deal or close, and she chooses it oftentimes.
Or when I go to buy dishwashing liquid, I want to get the one that's the most full because they're about 2 inches
that's
from
true.
the top now.
So get your vote's worth. Vote for the person. Whether I don't know if whether you like the way they look or like the way they dress or whatever. Just I think vote for someone with a proven track record of accomplishments, not just experience. Now, I'm proud of my experience. Yeah, I did all those things. 31 years of Bennett's, 20 years driving a school bus. I coached football, team center football. 14 years I was involved in that program. I worked in the community for the community and to help the community. But I think along that line, if I'd have just put my time in and not accomplished something for y'all, wouldn't you be a little disappointed? You wouldn't be getting your vote's worth, would you?
No.
And I think y'all need to get your vote's worth.
Yeah.
And I think I'm the guy. If you don't, run me out in 4 years. But I really think, and I said this back when I went to work for the city, those of you that's going to support me and vote for me, I'm going to make you so proud. You're going to.
Oh,
You're
I
going
like
to decide.
that. Yeah.
And the ones that didn't, I'm going to make you say, "Gosh, wish I'd voted for that guy." And we're going to work together. I'm going to do everything I can to work together, and we're going to get to the bottom of anything that's not right. We're going to double check, dot our I's, cross our T's. I'm not going to fly off by myself. We're going to work. There's 3 of us, and I'm not going to make a move unless we all work together. Yeah. And if you think about that, you're kind of protecting yourself in a way. I'm a firm believer locks up for honest people too. They prove that you're an honest person, and I'm not going to make a move unless the other 2 commissioners are okay with it. There's a lot of things that we agree on. All the 2 commissioners now, all 3 of them, there's some things we agree on.
Sure.
And there's some things we disagree on. But I'm not going to hate somebody over. No. Life's too short for that.
No.
And we're not going to get anything done for you, Tracy, if we do that.
Yeah. And those differences are what really brings change.
Sure.
You gotta.
And I love to listen to people.
Everybody.
I know I'm talking a lot this morning, but one of my favorite things to do is, especially when I go to a church or even the Lenten breakfast the other morning, I love to sit there and just listen, where I can relax. I need to talk today. I'm paying for this. It is a paid political spot, so I want to get my money's worth.
Sure.
So I'm talking about. I want people to know what I'm doing. But I oftentimes love to listen. I listen to my wife so intently, it's unbelievable how I listen to my wife.
Will you agree to that, Jamie?
Smart man.
Greg, you and I are both.
Smart man.
We're old enough to know better, but still young enough to get it done, aren't we?
Yeah.
We know what to do still.
This has been a lot of good education for our listeners this morning, and they can go back and listen on Facebook and YouTube and on X, used to be Twitter. But for those that don't know, tell us what the difference is between the council and the commissioners.
Well, I remember Merlin Fisher, he always called it the physical body. Of course, the commissioners are what they call the executive branch of county government. But I love Merlin Fisher used to say that the physical body, because they're the group, 3 men or women, and we've had some great commissioners, and I want to touch on that sometime. But they're the guys or the girls that get it done. And the county council, we set the budgets. And I love what Jim Nice used to say. I used to sit right beside him. Very frugal, boy, smart guy, I learned a lot from him, sitting beside him all day long in those meetings. And he would say, really, that if we set our budget, which we do every year, we set our budget, and which definitely affects the tax base,
Sure.
tax rates, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So people need to know all this, and really, our job's over with. If the offices can live within their budget that they actually recommend, and we oftentimes will follow their budget to the T because they know more about their budget than I would, a shoe salesman, right? Back then in those days, am I the guy that's going to try to circuit court judge what kind of budget he should have? Now we make recommendations and look at items and ask questions based on what amount of money we're going to have to work with too, because just like the county and the city, the state tells us how much we're going to get, basically. Now we can go back and we can appeal that and ask for more, and that does happen, and most times that can be successful if you give a good argument of why you have to have it. But these trained professionals, like all of them, they set their own budget. But if we set that budget and they can live without it, we can go home and be done for a whole year. But what happens is emergencies happen.
Sure.
And they may have to move money, like they've got a fund set up to buy tires. Well, they didn't have to buy all the tires they thought, but they're running out of gas, so we'll have to make a transfer of that funds into that line item, and that is almost every month. So I'd like to be able to say that, and I love Jim for saying that because he was right. But emergencies do come up and things happen, and you have to be there. Again, you can't hardly do it part time. Now, county council was, in fact, most of our meetings were very early. We didn't open the store till 8:30, and when I worked there, Jim and Bob allowed me to go to those meetings because they encouraged me to do what's best for the community. But commissioner's a little different deal. It's a hands-on, more of I need to be out the county highway garage because the guy out there has got some problems with the truck and he wants me to understand this and see this. I don't know how you can walk off a job and run out to the county highway or the courtroom or out to the sheriff's department to talk with the sheriff on some of the needs he does, because he's dealing in real time.
Oh, sure.
He can't deal next week.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be there in real time. And for anyone to say that, oh, I can do it, I'm the chief of this business, I can take off when I want. No, you can't. You can't. Not all the time. And I think our people need their vote's worth. They need someone who can be there 100% of the time, 7 days a week, if the need be. And that's the way we work for the mayor. Yeah. During Sunday snowstorms, you know where you can find me. I would get out and push snow. I had my CDL, so I even ran a street sweeper a time or two. That was kind of fun. Got a little boring, to be honest about it. 4 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, I wanted to try. I wanted to try to do those things so I could better understand why. And when somebody comes up with a question, I want to be able to say, "Well, I get that."
Sure.
And that's what I'm not going to go out and drive a bunch of county trucks. I'm not saying that. But I want to be around what's going on so I can understand what's going on.
Well, you've seen, as a councilman, you saw what the commissioners did, and then you're on the other end. So now you're gonna see it from a different
perspective. And a perfect example of how the city and county works together. You remember the old cheese factory?
Yes.
Everybody remembers that, right? And I worked with the county commissioners. They actually, I can't say enough good things about the county commissioners. They worked with me when I worked for the city and served as mayor. We got that torn down, which had been there for years and years and years. And I don't care who it was, when it was, everybody would say, "Gosh, wish we could get rid of that old nasty building." And we did. But it took a team, right? And we didn't get it done by being mad at each other.
Right.
And we didn't get it done by accusing each other of this and that. And I get it. If there's things going on, let's find out. But we got to get past some of this stuff.
Sure.
I don't want to inherit somebody else's problem, so to speak. I'll fix it. I mean, I don't want to. I will. I mean, that's part of the job.
Right.
I'm not saying I don't want to. I really don't want to. But if I have to, I will, and we'll fix it. But I'm going to fix it. You may not like what I find, but I'm going to fix it.
Does the commissioners have much to do with? I know they will work with. There's different committees, and a lot of times people will get on a board or as an official and say, well, I have a couple of meetings a month. But as a commissioner, you're on. different
Yes.
things. You're on
Yeah.
River
Growth
Hills, you're on
Partnership, yeah.
Growth Partnership,
Yeah.
you're different things like
Yeah.
that. And I know you've got experience with a lot of those through the county and the city. But what, how can, does the county commissioners, do they affect economic development very much?
Absolutely. They, in fact, the county pays so much a year. I don't know what that amount is right now, but it was when I worked for the city and worked with the commissioners. I think they paid $40,000 a year to the Grow Partnership, and that who's supposed to represent the county in terms of economic development. In other words, they're supposed to be the point of contact. If an industry or a business wants to come to our community, they're supposed to be the point of contact. And the city was paying. We were at $30,000, what we paid a year. And when I went in, I just, again, it was nothing against anybody, but I just didn't, at that time, see the results that I felt like, and I wanted to try something different. So I went out, our city went out on our own, and I'm hoping that when you're listening to me, you know I'm a pretty aggressive person. When it comes to sales, I want to get things done. I want to get it done, go on to the next thing. So we represented ourselves in terms of economic development. And again, accomplishments versus experience. The accomplishments we have to look at because we went out on our own. Now, in me saying that's not meaning I'm not going to be a part of the Grow Partnership. I want to make that real clear because I understand they do good things,
Sure.
and they're still a viable part of our community. I want to support it. In terms of a commissioner, I think we need to continue to support the Grow Partnership, and I've said that in the writings that I write, not Chat GTP or AUI or whatever you call it. But I do want to be a member and a supporting member of that group. However, I want to be the first to say this too and go on record that I think we should also be involved in economic development. What's wrong with the commissioners jumping in a car, maybe with a council member and maybe the mayor, and let's go talk to somebody? And say, hey, we've got some water in a lake called Wslm, and we understand that you're a processing plant that uses water. What if there's grants available to help new business relocate or expand into new locations? And I've got some experience with that. I can guarantee you that. And there's grant writing entities that help you with that too, and they'll even make you aware of what grants are out there to see if it. In fact, I used to meet with one, a grant facilitator, and we would sit in the office, and he would just make a list. He basically made all the list of the grants that were possible in our community, and I'd say, hey, what about that one? That sounds like something we might be able to get, and then we'd talk about it. You know, we throw it up on the wall, see if it stuck, and we got some grants to help with infrastructure.
The way I look at it, if you don't take advantage of it, somebody else will.
Somebody else,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said it because it's very true.
It could benefit our people just as well as it could benefit.
Yeah, I mean,
someplace
grants or tax money. The state or the feds allocate a lot of our tax money.
Yeah.
They make it available. It is your tax money, so again, you might as well get it.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think we have to rely on grants. I think there's some good opportunities out there. I mean, I don't know why we couldn't have. I'm gonna throw this out there. What's wrong with a county-wide water park?
I mean,
I'm gonna throw that
the
out.
community is just really wanting something
I'm gonna
like
throw
that.
that out to you
Yeah.
guys. I mean, this is how I do things. I'm in an office with community leaders. In fact, I would have meetings. I think you and your wife attended a few of those, if I remember right. You'd put down what was important to you on a wall. Remember, you'd take the Post-it notes, and then we'd kind of vote on. And so then I knew by those meetings what was important to the community. So I'm gonna throw that out to the community right now. All you people are listening. What's wrong with a community-wide water park where the people of East Washington could have maybe a free day for the students during the summer, or a free weekend? Or what's wrong with the people of West Washington having a free day or 2 or 3 days a week where all the kids in the community of West Washington could come and swim free and have it somewhere to where everyone could get to it?
Right.
What's wrong with that idea? I'm being legitimate here. My wife's here too. This is just how I would present it to all my people in our office. I say, guys, what's wrong with me thinking that? Am I being too much of a Santa Claus here?
No, we've lost a lot of things over the years. That the bowling alley and skating rinks, different things that we used to do, and now, of course, everybody's got their phone, but activity is very important. And anyway,
And it all falls back, see, and how I think I'll do my job as commissioner. If I can help do those things, if I can just get the ball rolling,
Right.
encourage growth partnership, and in that car, that van, or maybe hopefully we'd have 5 cars full, right? Wouldn't that be great? In the growth partnership, we all go together to meet. You know, I had I had a business for 31 years, and part of that business was we sold safety clothing to a lot of businesses throughout southern Indiana. A lot of them in Seymour. Well, Cummings Engine was one of our good customers. Even the Crane naval base in the middle of Indiana, waterlogged or water, no water around it. We sold steel toes there. That's like a city over there. You know, they had hundreds of people who took care of the facility, so they had to have steel toes. But we had a good business. We had trucks that went out and did that. And so I made a lot of business contacts. And folks, who do you think made those contacts? Who do you think the salesperson was for that? A guy by the name of Dave Bauer wanted to be your commissioner. You know, I got in my car and I drove to Crane, or I drove to Cummings, or I drove to, back then, Tower Automotive and Corden, or Ison. I drove to all those factories. And I said, hey, my name is Dave Bauer. I represent a steel toe company called Bennett's Clothing Shoes. We sell all these different brands. We've got a truck, air conditioned. We come in, we'll take care of your employees. Payroll deduction, you know, they took it out of their payroll. Like Crane would buy their people a couple steel toes a year. They had to have a couple pairs of steel toes. And I was the guy that did that. So it's not like I haven't been there and done that. Yeah. You know, I have gotten up at 2 o'clock in the morning, went down to Coca-Cola on 4th and Hill, set up my truck, and sewed boots to the different shift coming in later, the truck drivers. And then I hustled back, and my wife will vouch for this, jumped in a school bus, right?
Right.
Drove my school bus, got back and opened up Bennett's.
It's a long day.
I've been there and done that, guys.
Yeah.
I have. And that's what I want to say about experience and accomplishments.
It's probably about
There's
time
a difference.
that we had somebody with some hustle in county. Not that there hasn't been, but you know.
Yeah, I do too, and I know I know I've got a little more gas in the tank. You know, I'm not the young as I used to be, but I still got the passion for it, and I won't stop till I get something done. I mean, it's just simple as that. But you know, I don't know, this information age of AI and candidates, and I'm not just talking about here, but we are having it. I see it. They're not writing some of these ads. A computer's doing it for them, so that's not the person. I'm going to give you my phone number right now. And if you want to text my wife, she's holding my phone, and tell me what your name is, and if you've got a problem or a concern or want to know something, I promise you I'll text you back. And if it's legitimate and something I can talk about on the air, I'll do it right now. But my number is 812-896-7550. 812-896-7550. And if you got a question about anything I just talked about, text me right now.
Here we go.
And if you don't want your name told, I won't. Just make sure it's clean, guys. But I want a legitimate. If you've got any concerns, text me right now. I'm not afraid of any questions or any concerns. If I'll come to your nursing home if you want me to speak. If somebody's got a senior citizens group, I don't care if it's a sewing club, whatever. If you want me to come and you have a few ideas and some concerns about what you want to see in the county, what you're concerned about, give me a call. My wife and I'll come right to your house. We'll stand in your front yard. I'll tell you exactly how I feel on any subject you want to bring up. Now, I may not have all the answers. I may have to do a little research and get back with you because I don't know everything.
Sure.
But I think I know more than most of them running, and I know I can do a better job. I know that sounds maybe a little cocky right now, but that's how passionate. This is passion coming out. I want to do the job because I got something I want to prove to everybody. We can do this.
Yeah.
We can do this, Craig. It's not rocket science. If it was, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have done the things I've done. But I just want everybody to get their money's worth, their vote's worth.
Yeah.
And I want to represent the county the way you should be represented. Simple as that.
There you go.
Any other questions that you guys? How we doing on time?
We got about 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, if you got something else, fire at me.
I know the governor has, in trying to reduce property taxes, kind of hurt cities and counties and schools and all the different groups again with less revenue. What, as a councilman, you had to you come up, you have a pot of money that the state says this is what you've got to work with, and then how do you evenly Oh, now you go through budget session. Everybody comes in and kind of gives you their Christmas list of what they want, and you have to cut. But I mean, it seems like it's just be tough to look at these people and say, well, you can have half of that, or you could have 70% of that.
But I tell you what's thankful. What it really and you said a Christmas list, but I tell you, it's not really that way. These office holders are very professional, and they're professional in how they make their budgets, and the need is genuine in most cases. Now, if there is a case that we have to cut, we usually rely on them to say. And I remember Mervyn Fisher, and Roger Sweeney, and Dossie Souder, and even John Fultz, help us. Help us. What can we cut? And Mervyn would explain it. He would say, well, now we've got to cut $150,000 out of this year's total budget for the county, and that's not too bad. I think the county budget back then was $13 million. So you're at 130,000. That's not really too bad.
No.
And the commissioners has their own budget too. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but the commissioners, we have our own budget and line items within that budget. So there's some things that even the commissioners can do to help meet those demands. But I'd say 99% of the time, and I saw it at the city, and I saw it at the county, and I still think I'll see that today, that most of these office holders care enough, and they know that they can't ask for this Christmas list, because it's just not.
Well, I shouldn't.
No, and I don't know, and I'm not criticizing you for saying that, but it's probably a little different what everybody thinks, because they have to live within their means too. And obviously, it's a red flag if a certain department's operating on $100,000 in that calendar year, and they come back and all of a sudden it's 200. Well, what in the world's going on here?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of common sense. It's just like you would, at home. I know I do try to make things simple, and that's the way it was. But I've been lucky. We had a great clerk treasurer at the city that we worked well together. And I remember Sarah Bachman was the auditor, and we all just worked well together. And it was kind of all for one for all. And again, you've got problems, you got demands, and you got to meet them. So let's all put our heads together and get this done. And that's how we always did it. And oftentimes we would reduce their budgets if we had to. And again, because we had to. But mid-year, if something happened, we could make a transfer. And they knew that. Like they may have a little more than one budget.
Sure. And
we could transfer those funds. So it's not rocket science. It's nothing that we can't fix. And again, you have to rely on the people you vote for. And again, you got to be careful. I can't emphasize that enough. People need to vote. I think it's really almost a shame that we don't get a bigger turnout in what we do, because it does affect your life in so many ways.
Sure.
And you hit on it.
Sure.
The commissioners, the city, we affect a lot of different things. Social services is something the commissioners are big in. Even the weed board. There is a weed board. If people don't know that, okay. There's a lot of things we do that, and I don't know how you could ever do it full time and really do a good job, and really to make a mark. Let's say, really to really look back and say I accomplished this. I don't know how you could do it part time without donating all your time and efforts. So, I think it's just going to be something we'll take a look at. One of the questions I've got, and I really appreciate this: how can we improve communication between council and commissioners? And I think again, it's a great question, because I'm seeing a lot of that. I think it just needs to be time in the saddle. And what I mean by that is we need just to get together. We need to be at their meetings. They need to be at ours. I think we do need to understand what each other's needs are and what their legitimate demands have to be, and what your hot button is. Everybody's got something that's important to them. Greg, sure. I know you've got something. You do too, I'm sure. Tracy, my wife does. And mine is I want to get to go fishing a couple times a week. I don't know how I'm going to do that if I get to be commissioner, but I promise I'll stay home and become a commissioner. But everybody's got the things that they want to do and are special to them, and we just have to understand that. And what's wrong with me helping you help yourself?
Yeah. Do the meetings always have to be held up in the courtroom? Can they be held at Celinda or someplace?
Yeah, we could. We could move and I know commissioners did that. They had a few meetings out in Little York years ago, out West Washington. Yeah. They would hold a meeting. I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm open for any of that, because again, that's not hard to do. It's not. Is it hard for people to communicate? I've never been one to have that problem, as you probably can tell.
But for some people, it's a struggle, because I don't know.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
And I don't understand with me looking at you, and we've known each other for what, 40, 50 years now?
All the time.
And every time I see you, we'll go up and we'll shoot the breeze. Hey, buddy, what are you up to, you know? And what is wrong with you coming up to me and going, David, you're really dropping the ball on this deal? I mean, I'm not going to dislike you over that. I'm going to say, thanks, buddy. I'm glad I know. I didn't know that was an important issue.
Yeah.
Because I like to know those things. So.
Is it? And you've been you're a citizen and a voter. And is there a difference in what people think that a position is, and then when you actually get into that office, what it actually is?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I tell you how that I found that out real quick when I worked for the city.
Yeah.
I had people that thought I could literally. Now this is true. I had people that would call me up and say, "When are you going to do something about gas prices in the city of Southern?" Okay, true. I got a call at home. What about these grocery prices? Can't you do something? These grocery prices. You know, I wish we had that kind of power in a way, but we don't. And thank God to the founding fathers that it is really, if you look at our system of checks and balances, isn't that amazing? I look at that and I think, this is amazing. I don't think I could have thought of that back. I don't think I could have thought of it now in 2026, let alone 1776 or 78 when they were really starting to draft all this. But I just think it's amazing that people do expect probably more from you than you can even give. I wish I did have some help there.
Sure.
And the other thing that was really surprising was the neighborhood disputes. And I have them logged. There was 9 of them. 7 of them were really, really bad. I thought somebody was going to get shot.
Oh, wow.
Okay, 2 of them were just, oh, well, you know. But we'll all get over it. And again, but what did I do? I'd go to the front yard and I'd stand there and we'd talk, and I'd go the other half and the other side of the street and I'd talk to them and I'd say, come on, guys, really, what's the problem here? And oftentimes, I learned this a long time ago too, that there is usually an underlying issue that happens long before it got this bad, where it was not dealt with. So number one, when I'm dealing with that situation, as I planned it as commissioner, okay, what happened? Why are you upset, Greg? Really, what? This is old Dave here, buddy. We've known each other 40 years. What happened? And you'll generally tell me. And then I'll go, oh, I didn't know that, see? Yeah. So then I can say, I go to the neighbor and say, you need to go apologize to this guy. I said, because if this happened, he has every right to be upset, and let's get this over with. And I'd say, come on, I'll buy you lunch, but you gotta put your hand out. Let's end this right now. And I did that a lot. A couple times I was a little terrified for my life. But I remember one lady, I love her to death, short to my mother at the hospital. My mother was a nurse's aide for many years at Washington County Memorial. And I don't want to mention her name. She's passed now. But I loved her to death. She was such a sweet lady. And she called me at the mayor's office and, oh, David. And she was just, poor thing was just beside herself. Oh, my neighbor's planted a big bush. And I always back my car out onto the street and I can't see now because the bush is in my way and I'm afraid somebody's going to hit me. And I thought, well, she's an elderly lady in her 80s. I can see where that's concerned. I mean, I can.
Sure.
And that's another thing I hope I bring to the table. I get it. I don't look at anybody's as an excuse, or everybody has a reason, and that's what was important to her, right? So I was very respectful, and I said, okay. I said, I'm going to get the street superintendent with me, Tom Boyles, great guy, it's a great job. I said, come on, we got a mission. So we threw him in the Jeep, which I still drive today, and we went over there and went to this lady's house, and I was pulling up, and she come out, and and she pointed to this bush. And I swear to you, this baseball, that's about the size of that bush. For all those listeners, a baseball here, and I just picked up, it really was more like a softball, but it was one of those little bitty shrubs that you buy maybe at Walmart or wherever. And honest to God, it was smaller than a basketball. That is the truth. And so I even got still had the tag on, so I read it, and it said, like, gets to 3 foot and grows slowly or whatever. And I said, I tell you what, and I spoke out. I probably shouldn't have said this, but I said, now, if this gets to really be a problem, I'll come over and cut it down myself, and I'll pay the guy twice for the shrub. Oh, you do that? I said, yes, I will. I'll buy the shrub and cut it down for you. And just what, we make a big deal out of. We do. We tend as human beings, I think, to make a big deal out of things when it's not really a big deal. Because really what we ought to be concerned about is our life on this earth and the kids and the families we have around us and our friends. And we get awful mad, awful easy sometimes, like road rage. I mean, really. I mean, I get upset too, and I'm passionate. You can tell my voice. My wife will, I'll hit my thumb with a hammer, and I'll go off probably like anybody else. But 99% of the time, we create our own problems.
I agree.
So I don't know. But we'll make it work. If the good people of this community can help me and get me in there, you're going to see a difference, I think. Now, it's going to be tough because, you've got some leaders that are in there that are type A's, I guess you could say. I mean, they're leaders in their own right, and they want to do things the way they want to do them. But I think we can all bend a little bit. And I think just like when I went on the council as a young guy, I listened. I mean, I bowed to those men and women who'd been there longer than me, and just like the department heads, I bowed to them for a long time. And I don't mind, putting my head down and say, yeah, whatever you want to do. I think we can make it work.
Sure.
And I think we will. I just don't see it being a problem. I can't imagine it being a problem. And again, I go back to, if there's a problem, and you think there's a problem, well, let's either prove it right or wrong. And let's fix it and then move on. Let's get over it. I mean, are you married, Tracy, if you don't mind me?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I know I've been married for 50 years, and I know you've been married too. And we fight, right? We fight as husbands and wives, or if you've got a significant other. I'm sure there's times when you fight and argue, but we get over it. We still love each other, right?
Right.
Why? I don't know. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
We have our little differences, but we can overcome it.
You hope that there are fewer than the good times, but yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you, David and Jamie, for coming in, and we'll have you back in next week to be continued, and we'll talk about some other things. And Tracy, thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
I forgot. Let's read our sponsors, and then we'll hear from them here as we end the show.
Meadowview Healthcare, Walmart, Salem Crossing, Americans for Prosperity, Mama Roses, Fox Purley Wealth Management, Dr. Black's Eye Associates, Dr. Mindy Gunn, Marshall Monuments, Totally Baked Sweets, Springer & Springer Insurance, Schneck Hospital, Temple & Temple, and West Bowers for Commissioner.
And David Bauer for Commissioner here with us this morning. And thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. And don't forget tonight we have sectionals. Salem and Eastern play tonight at 7:30. So we'll see who wins that. They will go on to play Providence on Friday night, and then Saturday's the sectional final, and see who moves on. But we'll have those games on. We'll probably be on about 7:15 with that, and more Reds baseball this afternoon. So we'll be back tomorrow here on Coffee Club. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mitchell for WSLM weather. It's 40 today, and we'll climb up to 60, and we'll have light to moderate rain from about 8 a.m. until afternoon. We'll stay in the 60s all week. And